Hey now, welcome to Fitz's Electric Bar. Vinyl Tag 2026. Last year there was lots of controversy around this, who gets to ask the questions. This year, David Atkinson jumped in and put together a series of questions. He did it the right way with a little announcement that he was going to put together a set of questions, and also said if anybody else wants to put together a vinyl tag, they're welcome to do so. Anyways, I love David's questions. I'm a fan of David's channel, and I wanted to, while I had some time, do the Vinyl Tag 2026, so I'm going to do it. And I've got my notes, which I need to refer to so I can keep track of all this stuff. So, Vinyl Tag 2026. Down below, you'll see the link to David's video with the question set. And also down below, I've copied and pasted in the description the questions themselves. So here we go. So number one, show your best vinyl or other format musical purchase of 2025. So for me, it would be this artist, Susumu Yokota. I'm sure that most of you are not familiar with this guy. This is volume 1 of the Skin Tone edition. I did a video on this, so I won't talk about it in great detail. But the thing that I love about this, I was so excited to get this, is that I was only moderately familiar with his music and had one of his records. And I started listening to his stuff on the streaming platforms and was really enjoying it. He's a very interesting guy. His music covers many different sort of adjacent genres, from house, deep techno, ambient, classical. The difference about buying this box set is that normally when I buy a box set, whether it be Yankee Hotel Foxtrot or the Iggy Pop Funhouse or The Harvest or Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind, is that I already love an album from that era. And then you're getting a whole slew of outtakes and live recordings and things like that. This is different for me. This is all about discovery. I only knew one of his records in this box set. This is volume 1. Volume 2 is coming soon. But he's an artist that I just know confidently that I wanted to do a deep dive in, and I've been loving it. I've been loving pulling out the records, the different sounds, the different moods, and getting to know this record. And this is going to provide hours and hours and hours of pleasure for me. So that's my best vinyl musical purchase of 2025. Share your favorite live musical experience of 2025. As usual, I saw a lot of shows. I'm going to guess, about 15 or so shows this year. Shows that were really memorable for me were Billy Strings. First time seeing Billy Strings, man, oh man, that guy was great. His band is so tight and so wonderful. Nico Case, always enjoy seeing Nico Case. Wilco, same kind of thing. Both Nico Case and Wilco, I've seen them many times, and they're just such a pleasure to see. They're just always guaranteed great performances and enjoyment. But there was one transcendent show of the year, and I did talk about it in those terms, and that would be the Nick Cave Wild God Tour. It was magical. The energy level was just out of control. The band, so much going on, super tight. They would just reach these crescendos. The singers, the background singers, magical. So, yeah, for me, the Wild God Tour, Nick Cave was it for me. Number 3, your vinyl record collection in 10 years' time. Is it bigger, smaller, or about the same? Explain why. So I call this every year there's at least one existential question, and it reflects the average age of the vinyl community channels. And so I think reading between the lines, what David is saying, as we age, and we're 10 years older, I'll be 77 then, almost 77, am I going to be having acquired a lot of music and still have that? Or will I be decluttering, as it were? Not to disrespect my music, but will I be paring down? I have no idea. I realize that I don't really want to leave a large record collection for relatives, for my wife or my stepson or my brothers to deal with. They might like some of it, but in 10 years, they're probably thinking I don't really want more stuff in my house. So the responsible me would figure out and pare down and start to build really a core and smaller collection rather than have the expanse that I have now. But I don't know whether I'm really going to get to that, because that is an existential question. I need to have less because I'm going to die. So thanks for that question, David. It's going to be rattling around in my brain for a long time. Question 4. You move into a new home. You play one record turned up to 11 to announce your arrival. What is it and why? Well, I know what it is because this is always the first record I play over the last 25 years when I moved somewhere else. And it is the lead-off track from Quadrophenia, The Real Me. And I liken it to, like, musically, the incredible bass lines of the Ox, Pete Townsend slashing guitar, Mooney's just, rumbling drums, crashing drums, and then, of course, Daltrey, Can you see the real me? Can you? Can you? Boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's enough. It is like a dog peeing on a patch of land, letting all the other dogs know, this is my territory. And that's kind of what I do with playing the real me every time I move into a new place. It's kind of a ritual that I do. Show 2 albums. This is number 5. Show 2 albums. 1 each for your favorite male and female singers and why these 2. So I looked at the question and I thought about it quite a bit. And David asked singers, not singer-songwriters. So I was thinking specifically about artists that may or may not be great songwriters, but their voice, their singing for me is really fantastic. On the female side, so many that I would put in this category of among my favorite singers. Elizabeth Fraser, the Cocteau Twins, Ricky Lee Jones, Joni Mitchell, PJ Harvey, are just some of the female singers that I absolutely love. And then for the male singers, Joe Strummer for his expressiveness, David Crosby for his velvety voice, Tim Buckley, because the way he would sing, he would go and with power, with emphasis, quiet, beautiful, folky, melancholy. Tim Buckley was great. So those are some of the male and female singers that I absolutely love. But now to my favorite. On the female side, I've got to say Kate Bush, maybe a little bit predictable, but not a predictable album. I don't know that everybody is aware of just how great this album is. I believe this is the one that followed The Hounds of Love, and that's a great record, but I did play it to death, so not going to be something that I'll be going back to over and over again. I respect it, but this record's got The Fog, which I think is amazing, this woman's work. Late career Kate Bush, for me, is something I actually enjoy more than early career Kate Bush. Her earlier stuff, with her voice quite a bit higher and a little bit more flighty. I mean, that was my introduction into Kate Bush, so I'll never denigrate that music. But I love some of the Red Shoes, definitely Sensual World, and then late career Kate Bush. Her voice started to get a little bit lower, almost more sensual. And late career albums like 50 Words for Snow and Ariel, just fantastic. And an artist who is very selective and doesn't put out a lot of music, but always interesting when she puts it out. And I just love her voice. I find she has a voice that really transports me. So Kate Bush is my female choice. My male choice took me a while to think about this. I thought about different artists that I absolutely love, and I'm going to go with Brian Ferry. This was a record that he recorded at the Royal Albert Hall in 2020. Coincidentally, I saw Brian Ferry, was the last show I saw before the pandemic. I believe it was also in 2020. And I've always loved Roxy music. I love his voice. He's so suave and debonair. And, when you think about things like Grey Lagoons or In Every Dream Home a Heartache and all of his solo stuff, Kiss and Tell or covers of As Tears Gone By, he is so smooth, velvety voice, a little bit kitsch, and just got a fabulous voice. So my pick will be Brian Ferry, Roxy Music and his solo material, maybe my favorite male singer. Now, all of these things, of course, will change from day to day, week to week. So know that I won't always be consistent, but he's certainly one of my favorites of male singers. Prompt number 6. David says we like to have fun here. Is that right? I guess we do. Show your top 3 soul or dance records. Again, question 6. Show your top 3 soul or dance records. Here are 3 that I absolutely love. The Temptations. This is a great compilation. Another one that I was lucky enough to see, Sharon Jones and the Dap Kings. And this particular album is just sort of one of, many of her catalog, which are just fantastic. This one's called I Learned the Hard Way. And there's a track on here, She Ain't No Child No More. She Ain't No Child No More. Great, great dance tune. Another kind of soul record that I absolutely love, and shown this recently, but an OJ's greatest hits. Money, 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 For the Love of Money, Backstabbers, Love Train. Oh my God. Okay, number 7. David, all the negativity on this. So it's a real stinker, this question, a real stinker. Nominate a track you hate from an album you love and why the hate. Last song on the album that I absolutely love, the album, and I'll take it off before the song comes on. The album is Blondie's self-titled. This is like girl group bubblegum pop and just absolutely gorgeous. The vocals and the songwriting is beautiful production. Just love this record. The last song is The Attack of the Giant Ants, and I get the humor of it. It's like kind of a sci-fi movie. There's a whole section where you can hear the people screaming as the giant ants come and attack them and stuff. And it's very kitschy, but for me, it spoils the mood of the album. So The Attack of the Giant Ants off of Blondie's self-titled, that gets my vitriol. Number 8. If you had to pick one album from each of the last 6 decades, what would they be? So this is the question that breeds neuroses, right? Because you're sitting here going, is this the definitive album from that decade? And I decided to throw that thought away immediately. So I'm just picking an album I obviously absolutely love from each decade. I'm not saying it's my favorite. It's just an album that I love from that decade and hopefully kind of represents the decade fairly well. So 1960, I've talked about these records before, so I'll keep my conversation down about these, but 1960, and we've got Sunday at the Village Vanguard, Bill Evans, great piano jazz music. 1970s. I mean, this is just ridiculous. I mean, when you think about the 70s, and of course I was young in the 70s, so that was my era for music, but you think about everything from, late career Beatles to the whole psychedelic movement, still some folk music and protest music, punk music, prog music, post-punk music. There's just so much that goes into this. I know some of you will say, well, that's the 1980s, but when I first bought this record, it was in 1979. It was a UK import. This one is not that. That one somehow never made it through the rainstorms, but London Calling. 1970s, 1980s. For me, by far, my favorite XTC record, and also probably the one that is still holds up really, really well. It's not that the earlier ones don't, but there's a little bit of a quirkiness to the earlier music, which I like the idea of it more than I want to listen to. This still, to me, holds up really well. Some gorgeous production, really nice acoustic guitar on here. It's a very lush record. I keep waiting for this to get re-released, and this would be a good audiophile one, but I have a feeling from what I've read from Steve Wilson and others that the master tapes may not be around, so I hope I'm proven wrong. That's the 1980s, English Settlement, XTC, 1990s. Got to have one Bob Dylan in there. This is from the big box set Fragments, and this is the remix of Bob Dylan's Time Out of Mind. Love the original, love the remix. There really are two very different sounding records, and of course the music itself is pure Bob. 1980s. Sorry, that was 1990s. Now 2000s. Yo La Tengo, and then Nothing Turned Itself Inside Out. Just love, love, love this record. Everything from, You Can Have It All, Tears Are in Your Eyes, Tired Hippo, and then the whole fourth side, D side. Night Falls on Hoboken. So Yo La Tengo, representing the 2000s and the 2010s. Representing the 2010s, got me some Gillian Welch, David Rawlings. The Harrow and the Harvest. It's also a beautiful package, beautiful sounding record, and just cuts to the bone. That's the 2010s. Okay, you get to spend, you get the opportunity, this is question number 9, you get the opportunity to spend a day alone with one artist, walking a mountain trail, the beach, or hanging out in the city. Who would be that artist? So that would be, this is also a great question, David. So you think about all these people that you really love, like, I don't know, Elvis Costello or Neil Young, but then I kind of think about their personalities, or what I understand of their personalities, and I think, do I really want to be hanging out for a long time with that person? Maybe they're not going to be so keen on hanging out with me, and it might be a bit awkward. I think this guy would be somebody that would be enlightening and tremendously interesting, and that would be Nick Cave. The reason I would pick Nick Cave is that he strikes me as somebody that you could talk about anything with, religion, philosophy, the state of the world, and have an amazing conversation. If there was anything that you were trying to kind of work through or try to figure out, if you're familiar with his Red Hand Files, where people ask questions, and often non-musical questions, and he takes a lot of time, and he really thinks and gives answers that are well thought out and considerate of the person and maybe the perspective of how they're asking the question. Anyways, the follow-up to that question of David's is, what would be your must-ask question? And to be honest with you, I would have no must-ask question. For me, I'm not so interested in how he recorded something, or what was inspiring him by this, or what did he mean by this song, or any of that. I think just having a conversation about life with Nick Cave would be fascinating. And so it would be the conversation, not any specific question that I needed answered. Question 11. Show a record that contains a track that always brings a tear to the eye, or are you a heartless bastard? My wife says to me, you are a nice guy sometimes. This has come up before. Rick Danko's singing the track, It Makes No Difference. It's really interesting why a song would make you feel emotional. What is it about the song? Because something that I choose might be something that somebody else doesn't choose. And I'll be interested in everybody's answers to this. But I've always found the plaintive way that Rick Danko sings, It Makes No Difference, always makes me feel really sad. And it's really, truly one of those great, great songs of lost love. But it goes beyond just lost love. It's kind of like, it'll never be the way it was before. That's over. And I just love that. I think Neil Young's Helpless would be another one that anytime I hear anybody cover that, or certainly Neil singing it, or just the recorded version, always moves me. Okay, number 12. Show 3 albums from artists you've tried and tried to love, but you're questioning why you bother. I looked through my collection and I thought, I don't think I've got a lot of stuff in my collection that I really don't like. Hopefully I've purged most of it. But I thought about this a little bit, and I started thinking about, okay, so I'm a huge David Sylvian fan. Many of you know if you've watched this channel. I've got a lot of his stuff, and I never get tired of the melancholy and the mood that I find David Sylvian is so good at creating. But I could never get into Japan, and I've tried. I've got a greatest hits. I've got Quiet Life. I keep thinking, if I love David Sylvian that much, I must love Japan. Even Raintree Crow, which is essentially all the members of Japan. I really love that record, but somehow Japan records just don't do it for me. It's too cold. It feels too stylized, I guess. This doesn't feel like it's coming from the soul. Now, that's just me. I don't know. But I'm not interested in Japan or trying to, make Japan work for me. I'm just going to keep purchasing and listening to David Sylvian records, I think. Okay. Show an album from an artist whose character disappoints you, or can you separate the artist from the art? So I can separate the artist from the art. It does leave an impression on me. Let's say someone like Van Morrison, who seems like both cranky and maybe a crank. I have no problem with his music. I'm not going to be getting together with him. If somebody said, do you want to meet Van Morrison? I think I'd say, no, thank you. And he'd be happy to hear that. But it doesn't bother me at all. But I think one that maybe is a little problematic for me would be Ryan Adams. I don't even know the full extent of it. He just, even the way he is on stage, he seems like he can be a bit of a shithead. And some of the anecdotal sort of stories about how he's treated some women seems like he's been somewhat manipulative. And again, I don't know enough, but there's a lot of bad sort of stuff out there about Ryan Adams. I still like his music. I was a Whiskey Town fan. I really like Whiskey Town. But I really loved a lot of his ballads, and I thought they were really, really beautiful. And there's something about listening to his ballads now that makes me feel like, because a ballad creates beauty, I find. And beauty is kind of like a sweet place in your soul for that music. And so if I'm feeling that kind of sweetness coming from the music, and then I feel like this guy who's created it is not necessarily a good guy and has done some shitty things, it takes the sweetness away a little bit. So it has impacted. It's not like I've gotten rid of all my Ryan Adams stuff, but yeah, I don't have the same relationship with him and his music as I did previously. Okay, number 14. If you had to sell all your vinyl along with your record player, show the one album you would hold on to as a keepsake. Again, I'm being a bit repetitive, but we're talking about these declarative, records and favorites or whatever, that if I'm talking about the favorites in another context, I'm going to bring it up. And that would be Luna's live Penthouse, live from the chapel in San Francisco. And I've mentioned before, I was at this show. The production on this is fantastic. So I would keep this, and then I would go over to friends' places and people who have turntables and play it for them and try to kind of show the great wonder that is Luna, both recorded and also live in concert by playing that record. So that would be my one keepsake, live Penthouse Luna. Number 15, discuss your VC highlight of 2025, and if that's a video, link to it, but it could be a meetup or some event. So I might drop a few photos in of this, but when Mazzy came to town, Mazzy, he's a big player in this space, in the VC space, and he would probably kind of giggle at being told that, but he knows that. And but what I really like about him is he's also a very down-to-earth guy, and he has a broad interest in a lot of different types of music. And because of that, and because he's very articulate about talking about what he likes and doesn't like, he's led me to a lot of music that I've really enjoyed or reminded me of things that I already knew that I enjoyed. So Mazzy came to town. He was here for a birthday party for Rob Frith over at Neptune Records. And we got together. I had never met Rob before. We went down into the basement and we listened to the early Decca Beatles tapes. It was nice to have my friend Rick there as well, and a few other guys from the VC community here in Vancouver. And we just had an awesome time. We had a nice dinner. We did a lot of crate digging, and it was really one of my top VC highlights for sure. Number 16, name your favorite musical biopic if you have one. So I love rock documentaries. Like I just love the Wilco, I'm Trying to Break Your Heart. Lots of others. I won't go into all the possibilities, but I think one of the ones that still holds up that I really love is 24-Hour Party People. And I guess loosely based on Tony Wilson and the founder of Factory Records. And I think he was a founder of the Hacienda, but the whole Manchester scene. I was a big fan of that early Factory music and, the Joy Division and Rudy Column and things like that. And was less familiar with, but also really enjoyed the later stuff, the Manchester scene. It's fun. Steve Coogan as Tony Wilson is really awesome. Love it. 24-Hour Party People, that's my answer. Number 17, give 3 reasons why jazz matters and show a favorite album. So one of the things I think about all this is that people get really hung up on labels. And I think some people like country music. If they hear jazz, they think, oh shit, this is going to be like the sound of, throwing instruments down the stairs, the cliche is. And certainly if you're listening to, some Ornette Coleman free jazz or things like that, that's not the great place to start. But I'll tell you three kind of reasons why I think jazz matters. And it's three different types of jazz music, sort of different strains or tributaries of the jazz idiom, as it were. And one of them is modal, everything from Miles Davis kind of blue and, some of Coltrane's work. I find Sketches of Spain just gorgeous. And modal, to me, there's something primitive. I mean, with music, there's always something primitive about music, but it taps into the soul. There's just something about modal that I feel like, there's something about modal music and what it does. It both calms you and makes you feel spiritual, I think. So here's a good example of that modal sound that I think is really, really wonderful. The other aspect about jazz, again, not for everybody, but is the improvisation angle. And these artists that do amazing recordings, and it's based on improvisation. I'm sure there's structure to it, but they're going places that they don't know. And one of the things that I think makes great improvisation great is that it's like a Jackson Pollock painting, I suppose. Not that I'm a huge Jackson Pollock fan, but you're tapping into something and you're going into the subconscious and things are coming out. It's like when great singer-songwriters talk about, when they write a song, it's almost like they're channeling into something in the universe and that song comes to them. It's almost like they didn't write it. It was almost written for them. And they're just the ones that channel it out into the real world. Before I get too flaky, a great example of improvisation, Keith Jarrett's Colon Concert, a seminal piece of solo piano work. And another, I think, tremendous strain of improvisation that I think is very accessible, as I feel the Colon Concert is, and that's the band The Necks, going through a huge Necks obsession these days. This one's called Sex. This might be the first record on CD, one track, and it just goes somewhere. The thing about improvisation is that it takes you on a trip. You're going on a journey. You don't know where you're going. And if you're okay with letting go a little bit and letting the journey present itself, it's pretty good. So those are the three reasons that I would say. Oh, and I think the other reason, so that was improvisation. So modal, tapping into the soul, improvisation, taking you on a journey, and then mood. The ability for jazz to create just exquisite moods and very different kinds of moods. So you've got, let's say Bill Evans, always able to create a very wistful mood is one of the things he's very good at. You must believe in spring. Music to Make Love to Your Old Lady by Baker. Romance, right? It's just absolutely beautiful. Bill Evans with Chet Baker. And you've got, among other things, because of course you're going to get the real crazy stuff and again, the free jazz stuff, but what I would consider to be spiritual jazz, Donald Byrd and the New Perspective. And if you want to listen to a track that is just absolutely takes you up to heaven and back, it would be Cristo Redentor, first track on side 2 from Donald Byrd. All right. We're at number 18 now. We're getting into the home stretch. You're an innocent man or woman on death row. They give you one last musical request. What would you ask for? So I think my first request probably would be the Townes Van Zandt song, Waiting Around to Die. I would do that because, actually, this is one of the most devastating songs I know, but I'd want to see if the executioner had a sense of humor. Waiting Around to Die. And then if he cracked a smile, or even if he didn't crack a smile, he or she, I would say the actual song I want to listen to as the last one before I go down would be Joy Division's Transmission. I would want to dance frantically to it. And I would want to scream at the top of my lungs, "You can dance! Dance, dance, dance to the radio." Okay. Number 19. Sell your favorite artist to a new listener. Show one essential album and explain why they should make time for it. Well, I think almost everybody in the world would know Neil Young, but if you were maybe on the fence about Neil Young, or you didn't love his voice, or you weren't familiar with his catalog, I think this would be a really good place to start. I know a lot of people would say Harvest, but I think Rust Never Sleeps, one of the reasons I would say this would be a good one, depending on who it is I'm recommending it to, is how much this covers the full extent of Neil, right? So Neil, the folky, Neil of the sort of country rock, Neil of the electric hard rock, Neil of the godfather of grunge, all of that. I think it's all here, right? You've got the My Hey Hey acoustic, the whole first side acoustic, so Pocahontas, Thrasher, which is just one of the most beautiful songs ever. And then you've got side two with just the gorgeous sort of straight rock and roll of Powderfinger, and then all the way to the very end of the electric version, Hey Hey My, Into the Black, which definitely is kind of like father of grunge. Yeah, Neil Young, Rust Never Sleeps, I think would be a great way to sell Neil Young to somebody who doesn't know. And finally, number 20, you're arranging a VC meetup in 2026, excluding those you've already met. Invite 3 people you'd like to meet. So I've met a lot of people now in the VC. I've made a point when I've gone away to try to connect up with people in some of the places that I've gone to visit. So I've got my little list here, and I don't know if this is comprehensive, but met Brian at Tokyo Record Style in Tokyo, John and Steve, The Sonic Obsession in Halifax, Brian at Embryonic Robot, and Daryl off the beaten tracks in Toronto, and Greg from the original OJCs, Greg the filmmaker. And those were all in Toronto. Met Jack the Vinyl Martini here, Jason Arsenault, and Mazzy here, as I mentioned, and I hope I haven't forgotten anyone, but I met a lot. And then I did my interview series, and I met a lot online. So it is a virtual meeting, but you break down that wall of just being a viewer of their content and actually having a conversation. So that was really good. So, I mean, number one, you got to say David Atkinson, right? Because he's the one who put the questions together, and he's looking for his name to be mentioned. Just kidding, David. I do want to meet you, actually. I look forward to it. I'm sure we would have a good chinwag about a lot of stuff, life and music, right, my friend? But here are the 3 that I think that I would choose if I had to narrow it down. So it would be Todd at Lost Mixtapes. Todd and I keep in touch, and I just love his channel, and he just seems like a really awesome guy, and would like to hang out with him sometime. John over at the Digital Gramophone, same kind of thing. John seems to have a great sense of humor. I would learn a lot about music. He would be able to recommend a lot of stuff that I don't know about, and he has, and I purchased stuff that he's recommended that I've listened to and thought, I got to get this. But also, we share a lot of similar interests, so it'd be fun to go get together with him. And again, in the same camp would be Chris over at The Long Cut. Love his taste in music. I love his love of Americana and Springsteen and so much else. And he's prolific in his purchases, and he's got lots of great takes, and he's just so enthusiastic about the music that he loves. And I like to be around people like that, and I would say these 3 are also that, as well as David Atkinson. So that's it. Carpe Diem MFs. I want to get my Vinyl Tag 2026 in early. There you go. Hope you do it too. Bye.